Hey, y'all. Hey, Sherry.
Hey, everybody.
Thanks, everybody, for joining us today. We fired Spencer, by the way. So,
He gone.
no, we've got actually the Sisters of the Moon, Debbie and Barbara and Sandy, and Sherry is part of my group from our SAS team. So, he wanted women's perspectives today. So, I guess that's what you guys get is just a bunch of women. So I'm going to let you know right now, there's no telling where this show may go. But we do thank everybody for joining us today. So if you got any questions or whatever, just let us know. So let's bring out the ladies. Hey, y'all.
Hey.
Hey, girls.
How are yuns?
We're good.
It's good to see yuns.
Good. Yeah, it's nice to see you.
We're
I can't wait till we meet up.
Oh, you ain't kidding.
Yeah.
It'll be a blast.
I may have to break down and go up to LBL this year.
Definitely.
Yeah.
We have a good time, don't we, Debbie?
Yeah, it's always fun, especially around these crazy women.
We lost
I bet we will have fun.
Sandy. Spencer may not have got her back in.
Maybe she can get back in here in a second. So, ladies, tell us something about your last trip that you guys were on. Where did you go to?
Oh, we were in our favorite spot up in Georgia. And the guys camped away from us this time, and things were different, but we learned some different stuff this time too.
Yeah.
So it's always interesting to go there. It really is, one way or the other. Either you learn not to go at that time of the year or you just learn something different altogether.
Georgia's got a lot of activity.
Oh, up there is. It really is.
Is it northern Georgia?
Yes. Yes.
And this time it was a lot different. We went at a different time of the year. Well, it wasn't a different time of the year, but the landscape was different. They come in and had a controlled burn and had cut a lot of the trees down. And a lot of the undergrowth was gone. And that made a huge difference because it was a lot more open. Yeah. And it was just not the activity like we normally had in all the past, but we still did have a little activity. It's not what we were used to.
Right. Yeah, it was different, and I've been thinking ever since the trip that because of that, not having the brush cover as usual, that I think it was the big ones that were coming up, and they don't throw rocks at us like the juveniles do, but I think it was the big ones coming up to check us out, because I think they've kind of, and this is my thoughts only, I think they kind of have caught on to what we're up there doing. By this time, we've been up there so many times. And I think they know that we know they're there. And they know that we know they know. They got a little tongue twister, but.
That's why I asked, because I knew that you all had mentioned that they had done the controlled burn and everything. And it, I wondered about that as far as it messing everything up, because it runs everything out.
Yeah, it does. Now, there were chipmunks up there this past time.
And we've never seen them before.
No, ever. Chipmunks everywhere. And that's the first time we'd seen them. I don't even recall seeing many squirrels up there.
We've never really seen much of, if any, animals, to be honest, that I can recall until this go around when we saw the chipmunks. And we've never really heard any animals before. I mean, we know there's bear up there because they bear hunt.
Yeah.
And when we go in October, there's usually bear hunters, up there. And then we've been in March and had some decent activity in March, and there's never anybody there usually either. But this time it was just so different. And Barbara brought something up while we were there, wondering, because like she was saying, we think it's the juvies that start throwing the rocks at us, as soon as it gets dark. And then we've noticed that in the early morning hours, usually, before it starts getting daylight, is when the bigger ones will come in and walk around our camp, because we've seen the shadows,
Mhm.
and everything. And so we know that they are bigger ones in the early morning hours. But this go around, we didn't have really any activity when it got dark. And it wasn't until the early morning hours that we, wondered if they were coming in then, because we did notice some things were different when we'd get up and stuff. But Barbara, I want you to tell, I know some people may have already heard it, but Barbara tried this awesome idea. And because we'd been there a couple of nights, I think it was, and we had not had anything really. And and we were sitting there and we were just listening, and she goes, I feel sad. And I thought she was serious. And I looked over at her. She was to my left. I think when Stephanie was in between us, wasn't she?
She was still on the other side of the fire, I think.
Okay. And I looked at her, and she just started bawling, but there were no tears.
Yeah.
And she was wailing and crying and crying. And I'm still like, what the hell? She was real loud. And then, we kind of figured out what she was doing. And we were grinning real big. And I was like, she's pretty darn good at this. And
lucky. Yeah.
She did it for probably 3 minutes straight, if not longer. And as soon as she stopped, within a short period of time, there are answers. And go ahead and tell them, Barbara. I wish you could reenact it.
Oh, man. Sandy had actually come up with the idea of crying to see what kind of response we would get. And so I just busted out crying, and Debbie said I was even sounding like I was snotting.
Yeah, she
was really getting into this. And because they thought I was really crying at first. But I put on a pretty good show.
She needs an Oscar.
We probably sat there maybe 10 minutes, and we start hearing this screaming.
I don't even think it was 10 minutes.
It might not have been 10 minutes, but there's a huge food plot down the trail off where our campsite is, and something was just running back and forth. Back there's just screaming, running back and forth and screaming. It kept us up. What did it be, 20, 25, 30 minutes? It was a long.
Off and on. It was a long time.
Yeah. But I got that reaction from that crying, and I just thought that was cool as hell. But
Yeah.
It was.
yeah. And then when we let the guys come up in camp finally toward the end of our trip, and we were out there, and that's where we found the footprints. I got that footprint right up there. I should have got it down.
Yeah, Spencer.
Yeah.
Actually, is the one that first started seeing.
Yeah, and they were
over
along that ridge where it sounded like this running and screaming was coming from, which actually we thought it was on down in the holler on the other side of the ridge, but undoubtedly it was running back and forth at the edge of the food plot.
Yeah, because back behind the food plot, it kind of drops off.
Yeah.
A big drop off.
Yeah.
And we've never actually gone over there and looked over the edge because we can't get back to where it drops off because there's trees down and stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, Spencer found what looked to be footprints, and the pressed down grass, hay, or whatever you want to call it now, had come up where the toe end of the foot had gone up under it. And when you put your fingers in there lightly, you could feel toe impressions. You could tell that there were impressions down in there. And so we poured some casting material in there and let it set. And sure enough, it looks to be a footprint.
Yeah.
And they went all the way along the backside and then down the other side that was on the opposite side of where our camp was.
Yeah.
And it's a big area.
Yeah. And then down at the very bottom of the plot, they found what could very well be a blind, a pretty good sized blind.
Yeah. And I didn't send in any of those pictures because We had already talked so much about it.
Well,
And I was too lazy to walk down there. I stood on top of the hill and supervised. So everybody go down there and check that stuff out.
well, you would think Spencer would have at least told me the pictures that, you guys had or whatever you wanted to talk about. So what pictures did you send him? And we'll talk about that.
Well, let's see. I got to look.
I got
See
busy with my grandboy, didn't send any.
Because what we'll do is we'll
Let me look real quick.
talk about those. That way,
There he
whenever
goes.
the show's over.
Okay, that right there is from our Tribulation Bay area, which is in southeast Oklahoma. And I sent that and an asterisk and then another angle of those trees. And finding these things here is what really prompted us to set up a camp down in there. And now that's from North Georgia.
Yeah.
That one, the little glyph is. That was from our very first time in North Georgia, where we're talking about a while ago here and all the calls and crying.
Did you find them all around the same area, or were they just?
Well, the glyphs that you've got up on screen right now. Hold on, can you stop it?
I can't. Spencer's running it.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So the glyphs that the one that says before and then the two that are after. This was on our very first trip to North Georgia, where we were just talking about, and we set this out on like our second day, I think, because the first night there were 5 of us. Wasn't there 5 of us there then, Barbara?
Yeah.
Patty
Yeah.
was with us,
And Stephanie.
and then me, Barbara, and Sandy. And we had set up 2 separate tents, but we had them where that one end of the tent that Barbara and Sandy and Stephanie were in was open to the front door of mine and Patty's tent. And we had the mesh part connecting the 2 along the backside. And actually, this might have been the second night. I can't remember. But hey, there's Sandy.
Hey.
But we had activity the first night, heavy activity of them throwing rocks at us from all angles and stuff. And that first night, Patty woke me up after we finally fell asleep. She woke me up, what was grabbing my hair, trying to pull it, because we didn't have our cots set up close to each other at that time. And so she was trying not to make any sound and was reaching over there trying to wake me up. She finally eventually got a hold of my hair and was pulling my hair. And when I turned to look at her, she's got her little fingers like something's walking, and she's trying to whisper to me, but all I heard were little squeaks and stuff. But she had actually seen one walk past our tent, and it was on the front part of our tent between us and our campfire. So she was able to see its shadow. And she told me that next morning that she could see its arms swinging down past its, where the legs were and everything. She said she could tell that the arms were really long, and she could even see a little tuft of hair sticking up from the top of its head. And so we decided to set out a glyph, which is that one that you're looking at right now where it says before. We set out this glyph, and then we waited, and they ended up changing the glyph and had taken away 2 of the sticks, because we took pictures of it and we knew which sticks we had used and what they looked like. And so they had removed the 2 sticks that were on the end on the right hand side and had replaced them with 2 totally different sticks and made this formation. And it was like two A's basically, or whatever you want to call them. And I think the picture was actually flipped around. But anyway, we found it very interesting that they had changed the sticks, even not just moved the sticks, but took them totally away from the area. And then they came back and did the same thing the next night and changed the sticks again.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Was it right outside, right close to your tent?
I believe
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, it was where they would have to walk and we knew that they were using that back part of the tent, and then coming up the side of our tent. And it's not a very big pathway that they had to be able to go through there. So that's why we put it in that pathway, knowing that they'd have to see it.
Well, did you happen to notice, were they laying the same way? Like if it made the A, were they pointing the same way every time they messed with them, or?
Yeah.
It
yeah,
was.
because this is actually the one that's up there right now. That's actually the direction of what the other one was. The other picture was turned upside down, I think. But they were straight up A's, what looked like A's, and they were pointing towards the back. The top part of the A would be pointing towards the back where Barbara was talking about the trail goes that leads to the food plot that we were talking about a while ago.
Well, you remember, Debbie, on this last trip to Georgia, we found the sticks that went along the side of our tent, just laying in a perfect straight line. Sticks, sticks don't fall off and out of trees in straight lines.
And that pattern shows up in a lot of stick structures.
It does. I used to have a lot of a house I had activity with, and we played a lot of stick games, and the A shape was always there.
We've been kind of researching that, and it's hard to find anything really specific, though. What like in geometric patterns in the past and history,
Right. I tried to look at different kinds of glyphs and symbols, and I just can't make any sense. Make it be like anything I've seen. But I did come up with a thought on my own. Now, this is entirely my thought, because I played sticks on a picnic table in my backyard with Bigfoot for 17 years. And this A shape, what I finally came to think is a creature. Because there was only one time this happened. One time I went up there to check my sticks, and inside the A shape was another A. And my grandson was visiting me. So the theory came into my head, that's me and that's my grandson. He's my baby. And they put him inside of me. Now, like I say, that's just my thinking. But I played these games with these sticks, and the A, it was always in there.
Barbara's got some fascinating stories from her house.
I've seen some of the pictures, yes.
Yeah, they're just amazing.
Well, let me ask you this. I know you probably didn't, because I know I honestly, I would probably forget to check too, but if they were laying in the same direction, did you happen to get a compass reading on them and see if, like, where it was pointing to, like the point of the A, where it might have been?
You talking to me?
Whoever.
Well, and it never seemed to make any difference, because I would turn my picnic table in different directions and it would still be the same shapes.
Yeah, but did, like, on the one that you guys found with the asterisks while you guys were going camping, you said they were right outside the tent and they were turned the same way every time. Did you get a compass reading to see if it was pointing like north, south, east?
No.
I wouldn't have thought to either, but I just wondered about that.
But that stuff comes as an afterthought when you've been home 2 weeks.
You ain't kidding. You wouldn't believe the things that we go through. We'd have thought to done while we were out there.
Yeah.
You just get so excited you forget.
I know. Yeah. No, I never thought about taking the compass reading, but I'm going to guess we were pretty much pointing north, wouldn't y'all think?
I don't know. I mean, those roads up there are like this.
They're deceiving.
Yeah. So there's no telling.
Yeah.
Those pictures there that are showing right now, that's when we were up in the Olympic, Pacific Northwest in the Olympic National Forest.
Yeah.
And all up through there. That was an awesome trip.
Oh,
and that right there, we had found a little trackway.
Yeah, we did.
And we had laid our walking sticks between each step. And so you can see 2 of the walking sticks laying there, and our walking sticks were
4 feet long.
Yeah. And so there was at least a 4-foot stride between them.
Yeah. Our trackway bloodhound right there, Sandy, She comes
Yeah,
up on
now
those
you
track
spotted
days.
Yeah, Sandy said, y'all come look at this.
Yeah.
And that picture there is up in Northeast Arkansas.
Oh, yeah.
Or Northwest, not Northeast.
Yeah.
Now, if you can pause on this area right here, y'all remember this? This is when we
Yes.
were
Oh, yeah.
there, not far from this.
Moo.
I'm actually going there tomorrow.
How are
Oh,
you now?
wow. You
Yeah,
lucky girl.
I know. Me and Patty are going to go up there and stay for 4 days. But this was this was awesome. I'm excited to go back.
Yeah.
Barbara and Sandy had found an area that there's a cemetery not far from there. And Barbara, go ahead and you tell them about that. I was in the hospital. I just gotten out of the hospital and was driving up.
Well, Debbie had sent us a pin to another area, and Sandy and I went down there, and there wasn't any way to camp down there. So we took off in search of a good campsite. And we turned and went down this road by the cemetery, and it went down to the little stream that goes through there. And boy, we really liked that area. It looked real good, had a little stream going through it. But there were people camping.
Just one set though.
Yeah. We still didn't want to be by anybody.
Right.
So we took off and went back up and went up a old logging road and found this really nice campsite. People camped there. It was a nice spot. And that's how we come up on that spot.
And
Sandy?
Yeah.
Put your 2 cents in there, gal.
Well, that is the place that the first, I guess if I'm remembering right, the first couple of nights wasn't much going on, but then that third, I believe it was the third night that we heard sound like cows were surrounding us, mooing at us.
Yeah.
And we even Debbie heard the donkey sound, which I heard. And it's like as long as we were making noise, they were making noise. But if we got quiet, they'd get quiet. And if I'm recollecting right, the video when it was replayed and listened to, it was more not like a moo, but it was more like was it a low growl, Debbie? Is what?
it was like moans.
Like moans, yeah. It wasn't a moo cow sound. But they completely surrounded us at this place. I had never felt so surrounded before anywhere we've been. I mean, we've had a lot of experiences at a lot of places, but this one was completely different experience for us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's almost scary.
Yeah, it was because I know we were surrounded.
Yeah, this one was a little more unsettling, I guess you could say, than some that we've had, because we had actually gone around that night that we were there and had done some calls in different places. And then we came back and we went up this logging road beside us, because we're up in the mountains in this area, or what we call mountains in the South.
Yeah.
And so we went up to the top of this logging road, and we sat up there and did some calls, and we didn't hear anything. And then as we're going down, I hung out the window kind of and did some calls while we were moving, hoping that if they heard it, they would think it was a Bigfoot running, maybe. And so when we got back down to our camp there, you can see where that pink chair is. We had a campfire over there, and Barbara was standing there at that table, and she was cooking something. And Sandy and I were sitting at the campfire, and from behind us is when Sandy and I heard this moan sound, and it was big and loud. And we looked at each other and kind of grinned and looked over at Barbara and said, "Did you hear that?" And she was like, "Okay." And then from the opposite side where we had just heard that, kind of coming from back behind, or the other side of where, we were sitting, we heard another one. And now we knew that there was at least 2, or it got over there really fast. But it was kind of coming from in front of us at this time. And then after that, it just kept on. And it would be every so often we'd be hearing them. And then out in front of that tent and over to the left is a little bit more of an open area, but it's surrounded by trees. Mm-hmm. And we started hearing stuff out there, moans. And then like Sandy said, at one point we heard what sounded like a donkey. And then from on down in front of us out towards the main road, which is still another dirt road, off to the what would be our right is where that cemetery area was that Barbara was talking about that they had wanted us to camp at. And we could hear dogs barking from over there. And but that went on off and on all night. I mean, for a long time. And we finally decided just to go into the tent sometime kind of probably about 2:00 or so in the morning. And as long as we were laughing and talking, they'd be making the noises. But when we'd get quiet, they'd get quiet. And so we'd be in there whispering and saying, okay, let's all start laughing. And we'd just start laughing and be real loud, and they'd start up doing it again. But we had been reading reports before we went up there that a hunter had a sighting. He had gone out to scout some locations, and he had a sighting on the other side of the mountain from where we were. And then we had read about something else. But when we got back from this trip, this is where it really got kind of interesting and creepy. 2 weeks after we had gotten back from having all these incidents on this trip, I was on Facebook. And you know how some of the newspapers will post stories and they'll come up in your news feed, especially if it's an area that you had been to and been looking up on your laptop or your phone. And so this news article came up in my Facebook news feed, and it was one of the bigger cities in Northwest Arkansas. I can't remember if it was like Fayetteville or Fort Smith or what. And it was an article about a couple that had been camping, and while they had dogs with them, and while they were camping, they had been hearing stuff. And then they started having things thrown at them in their camp. They got scared, and so they got their dogs and they went into the tent. And when they got into the tent, then stuff started being thrown at their tent. Well, they got really unnerved because I'm sure probably Bigfoot was the furthest thing from their mind when they, I don't think they were Bigfooters. And so they got scared and they sent their 2 dogs out. And while the dogs were out there barking and everything, they heard the dogs change their tone and start yelping. And then the people in the tent started having these big pieces of something thrown at their tent. So they decided they were going to just run out of there and go get in the vehicle and leave. And when they were running out, that's when they saw that there were their dog's body parts. And in that article, they had mentioned the little river that Barbara had mentioned, a little stream, but it's a small river that was where we were. And they had put an X marks the spot. And that was the exact place that Barbara and Sandy had wanted to camp at that she mentioned earlier. And it was down from us, not even a half mile or so from where we were camping. And it was 2 weeks. They had said in that article that 2 weeks prior is when all this took place. And that was that weekend that we were there.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah. And so we think that those dogs we were hearing barking were those dogs that had ended up evidently getting killed and ripped apart.
Yeah.
It makes me sad.
Sandy? Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, did you see the question, Misty?
What question?
Donna had a question.
Oh, about babies crying.
About the babies crying.
I can't say that I've ever heard a baby
it
crying.
said mama. It said mama.
No, I haven't heard anything like that.
No.
Okay.
This picture
I know
here,
people
Sandy.
say they have heard that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
I've heard
this
people
picture
talk
here. Oh, yeah, I remember this picture.
Oh, yeah.
We were on our trip, and this was a different trip.
We're in Louisiana.
Yeah, that's right. And there was a storm coming in. It was dark. It had just gotten dark not too long before that. Maybe 30 minutes had been dark. And we had Christmas lights set up behind the tent like we always did. These were white lights, and they were probably 20 foot from the tent, but they lit up the back of the tent well. Debbie, she was not feeling well on this Trip at all. And she was laying in the cot, and we had our little see-through tent set up on the front part of the tent. And me and Barbara was sitting in there. Well, Barbara was sitting in the corner of the round seafood. What do you call that anyway? That type
It's
of
just
tent?
a little gazebo tent.
Yeah, a little gazebo, but it was
Yeah.
netted, so
Yeah.
mosquitoes couldn't get to us or anything.
It's a little
Well,
porch.
Barbara was facing me, but I could see through the back of the tent, and Debbie was laying in the cot. Well, I'd been sitting there playing on my phone, and Barbara had on her robotic ears where she could hear anything around us. She was doing that, but me and her were chatting back and forth a little bit here and there. And I remember looking at the back of the tent, and it was lit up, and I seen a figure, a dark figure, just go straight down. It went straight down. And I just remember going, oh my God. And Barbara remembers me saying these things. Oh my God. Oh
And
my.
I remember your face.
And I remember going, Debbie, there is one right at your head. It just went straight down. And she went, what? Well, Debbie, all of a sudden, her sickness went away instantly. She rolled off that cot so quick and into the floor. It was amazing.
Yes.
And Barbara said she actually started paying attention, and she was listening to, and she could hear something walking away, or it sounded like walking,
Yeah.
or maybe a little bit of gravel.
Yeah.
Well, it came a storm that night, and I was really bummed out because I knew there wouldn't be any evidence whatsoever to show or prove that I had seen something squat down behind our tent. But those ferns that's in that photo right there, they were all standing upright. And the next morning, Barbara and Debbie was walking around the tent, and they seen where those ferns had actually been pressed down into the ground, exactly where I said I seen the figure go down, which made me feel fantastic, because you always like to have a little bit of something to clarify what you've seen.
Yeah.
Because sometimes whenever you see something, you might go back and question your own self, going, well, was it my imagination? Did I imagine seeing that? And they called me over there, and they said, Sandy, look, this is exactly where you said it went down. Those ferns are pressed into the ground.
And in some of those other pictures I sent y'all, Misty and Sherry, there's reenactments. There's more pictures of this. There's a picture of inside the tent where they were sitting and could see the back part. And then there's also a picture, that's Sandy right there doing a reenactment. We were trying to, or
I was trying to go down like the figure I seen going down with the lights behind it.
You kind
That's
of
what that shadow is.
you kind of look like a squatch. Look there.
I know, but that was actually me. We were just
Well, we tried it
doing
forward and at a profile so she could, and we
They
took
like to sneak up behind Debbie's tent. They done that to us at LBL. If you remember, Debbie, they come up behind you and Larry over there and took your lights down.
oh
Yeah.
The next morning, he said he could see where something had been back there, and the way she had the lights fixed, they weren't going to fall on their own. There's no way. They had to literally be pulled up, and twisted around the wire and unhooked. The battery pack itself, the weight was holding it on, and it had just been took down. And we had heard something out there, but yeah, she said, I think something was behind the tent last night. And then that's whenever the lights and everything was down. So, and me and Mark and Donna was all still setting out and didn't go to bed till like 5 or after 5 o'clock in the morning. And none of us moved because Donna was like, did somebody take Debbie's lights down or something like that to that effect? Or did she turn her lights off because they weren't hanging up and glowing the way she had them strung out on the tree? But yeah, they like sneaking up on you, Debbie.
I think they like our tent. I don't know.
well,
But-
they sure don't know the lights are throwing their shadow, because we waited till during the day where the light from the sun was shining just on that right on perfect in that tent spot. So
That picture right there is
yeah.
that's that location, and you can see that's the door going into the tent. I was laying where that blue blanket is, and then Sandy and Barbara are sitting from where that point of view picture was taken, and they're inside the gazebo. And it was so funny because when Sandy said, her face, I saw her face because I'm laying in that bed with my head on that pillow that y'all see on the right-hand side. I'm looking at them. Sandy's looking past me to that spot on the right-hand corner, and I see Sandy's eyes just get as big as God, they were just huge. And her expression on her face changed. And I knew before she said anything, actually, that she was seeing something. That's when I rolled off my cot. And I got on the floor and I reached under my pillow and got my gun because I knew that she was seeing something. And it was so funny because they were right when they said I was not sick. I had this adrenaline rush come over me, and that ailment was gone until it all ended. But we weren't sure, if it was a human or what. And so we said, I said something about my gun, but I spelled it out.
Yeah.
I didn't say gun. I said, we have a GUN.
Yeah.
Because, and because I knew a human would understand us.
Mm-hmm.
And because she said, I just saw a shoulder and a head. And she was saying there's a line kind of where the bottom half of the tent is a different color from the top. She said, I just saw what looks like to be a shoulder and a head. And so we wanted to make sure what we were dealing with, if it was humans or if it was Bigfoot, because to be honest, we're a hell of a lot more scared of humans.
Yeah.
We're concerned with them than we are Bigfoot for some reason.
Right.
I don't know. Call us crazy. I don't know.
Greg,
But
I'm sorry. Greg House just asked a question. Would y'all tell us y'all's most unnerving or scariest encounter? Was that it? Or has there been anything scarier?
Yeah. I think there's been more scarier things,
Yeah.
in my opinion. When they start throwing stuff at our tent, that's kind of intimidating. And they've done that in North Georgia before.
a bunch.
Or, that time that they were messing around us, what we call Tribulation Bay, and they kept pulling on that cooler, even after Barbara told them to leave us alone. And they
That ain't what she said.
I will say it on air.
I ain't scared.
She ain't scared. Oh my Lord, my butt's up in the air. That's that was on there.
That's up there in that.
I was napping.
That was Northwest Arkansas.
But we've had a lot of scary moments, I think. And that time they bluff charged us up in Washington, that was pretty intimidating too.
Yes.
That was my scariest, I guess, because we'd never had that happen before, and that was crazy.
Yeah.
This trip with this picture right here, that's where the three of them came.
Oh, that was
jumped out of the
intimidating.
trees and came up and shook the water all over us. And
That was freaking scary there.
yeah,
too.
we were
I
sitting
forgot
up
about
under
that.
that little porch right there. The three of us were sitting with our backs to the tent. It was raining. And I looked over at Sandy like, I don't know what's fixing to happen to us. But that was my scary night. Ugh.
Yeah.
This was in East Texas, about
Yeah.
45 minutes from where I live.
Yeah.
And I was with Larry and Mark and all of them going to another outing. And Barbara and Sandy, and that's their niece, Stephanie, they had come in and I had gone out trying to find, because I had planned to camp with them and had forgotten about this other outing that I had already said I'd go on. And so I had found this location out there. And so they were there, and we had just recorded the gibberish a while back and had gotten it. Mark had went through and cleaned it up so you could hear it really well. And so they had it on their recorder and asked Stephanie, you tell the story.
Oh, me?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, Debbie had just sent me the gibberish, and we had been at the conference in Jefferson, and we came back, and it's raining, and it's dark, and we're sitting under that little porch, and I asked my niece, hey, you want to hear Bigfoot talking? And she said, yeah. So I played it, and when it quit, I immediately played it again. I played it 2 times, and it's just as soon as it's that second time it stopped playing, that's when right behind us in those woods you see right there, we heard boom, boom, boom. And you could just feel what was behind us coming up to us. And when one went on each side of the tent, and the trees right there just shook them. They were full of water from the rain, just shook that water all over us. Then turned off and went back out in the woods, and we didn't hear a peep about. But we think it was because of that gibberish. Truly in my heart, that gibberish told them to get out of there.
Have you ever
Because when-
seen one spider crawl?
I think Sandy saw one at my house one time doing that.
Oh my
Yeah.
Lord.
Crawling. It was crawling. It looked like it was crawling backwards, actually, going back underneath some bushes. It was
Yeah.
a dark figure. It looked like it was on all fours.
No.
That was pretty
See,
freaky.
I don't want to see.
I'm the same way. That right there, I think, would freak me out.
Yeah. You got
I
that.
was pretty scared. I tell you that. And it wasn't long after that I did my very first trip with Barbara.
Yeah.
And Barbara did one of those recordings on Facebook this past week of me.
Yeah, we were
Right.
standing at the gate in my backyard that goes out into the pasture. We hadn't even left my yard, and she scared to death.
I was scared. I was right scared. And
Yeah.
after that trip, we went on that little camping site. I told Barbara, I said, I just don't think I'm cut out to be no Bigfoot person.
Yes,
I
you
just
did.
think I can do this. And 2 weeks later, we were planning my next trip with her.
Yeah, she changed her mind. I want to
Now,
go.
now, if they aggravate us and it's 2:00 in the morning, I'm like, y'all, I'm going to bed.
Mark Green asked, how did y'all get into researching?
Well, we all had different experiences
Yeah.
growing up.
Yeah, it was just in our life over the years. And
Well,
finally we got together and met and just made a team.
I had grown up in East Texas, Northeast Texas. I was about 40 minutes drive to Falk, Arkansas when I was little. And back then I didn't know what Bigfoot was. I had never heard the term Bigfoot, but we had heard of the Falk monster. And but whenever I would say something to my mama and daddy about the Falk monster, she'd say, Mama and Daddy both would say, no, they just made that for that movie. It's not real. It didn't happen. It's just, they just made it to make the movie more interesting. And but then by the time I became an young teenager, we started having stuff happen at our house that we couldn't explain. And I won't go into all that because it's long stories and I can talk a lot. But that's when we knew that there was something going on that we couldn't explain. And then it was, we had heard some moans and growls and calls and stuff, me and my daddy. And my daddy was a veteran of World War II, Vietnam, and Korea. I was adopted when they were 41. And nothing ever scared my daddy. But when he heard these noises, I could tell it unnerved him. And so that always stuck with me. And years later, when I was around 28 or so, I started hearing these noises I was Googling. We didn't have Google back then, but I was looking stuff up about Bigfoot because now I had heard of the word Bigfoot and I wanted to see what this thing was. And there were Bigfoot sounds on the internet. We'd just gotten a computer not too long before that. And when I started hearing these Bigfoot sounds, then I started realizing, holy crap, that's what me and my daddy heard when I was, young. And so from that moment on, I was fascinated with it.
Sandy?
Well, for me, it was I was into that movie, The Legend of Boggy Creek. I watched that as a little girl, and I remember it just natural and petrified me. And I know people that's heard me in the past talk about it. I remember going and looking at a United States map going, oh, wow, that was all the way over there on the other side of the country. There's no way that creature's going to trot across all across the way. Excuse me, let me get untongue twisted. All the way across the state to come get one little girl in South Georgia. I'm good. But there was one night, and I lived in Odom, Georgia. We had a patio, and Odom is a one-horse town. We didn't even have a red light there. We had a caution light temporarily, and they even took that away. So my house was against a bunch of forest, and we had a little creek that ran through the back. Perfect environment for Sasquatch. Well, I had 2 little dogs, and my son was outside that evening letting my puppies out for me. And I was about to join him. And when I went to go join him and my dogs were trying to tear their way back into the back door that I was trying to go out of. And I remember going, son, what in the world's going on? He says, Mama, don't go out there. He said, I just heard something major screaming. He said, it was huge. It was loud. He said, I don't know what it is, but it just scared me and the dogs to death. So I just looked at him and I said, wow. I said, okay, I won't go out there then. I said, that's crazy. And well, 2 or 3 days later, I kept thinking about things. So I got on the internet. And he was there. I said, so I'm going to pull up some sounds. Let's see if we can figure out what you heard. And I pulled up bobcats because we have them here. I pulled up everything I could think of, even a gator growl. You name it, I pulled it up. I pulled up dogs screaming. I pulled up bobcats, like I said, foxes, even brown bears. We'll get them down here from time to time. He said, no, Mom, it wasn't anything like that. Never crossed my mind it could be a Bigfoot scream. Well, I actually seen Bigfoot howls because it came up on the list of howls. And I played that. He went, and he did not have a clue what I had clicked on. He said, that's it, Mom. That's what I heard. I went, huh? You know, I was kind of like making fun going, what? That's what you heard? He said, yes, Mom. That's what I heard. Play it again. And I played again. He said, oh, my God, it was so close to that scream right there. I said, oh, my Lord, son, are you for real? He said, yeah, what was it? And I just kind of looked at him and grinned. I said, well, it says it was a Bigfoot howl or scream. He went, what? Well, that natural born sparked my curiosity. I had to tell Barbara all about it, you know, and it sparked both of our interests. And not that Barbara didn't maybe already believe before then too, but it just confirmed it for me. There's one thing I can say about my son. He is not a BSer, and he had not a clue what I was playing.
Sorry, y'all.
And that happened. And that's how I got interested. And Barbara and Debbie met before I met, and they welcomed me in with open arms, and I was as green as they could be for Bigfoot research.
We all were very green when we got together. But it didn't take long, and we were having all these crazy experiences, and we were just going, wow. I can't believe this. I can't believe this is happening to us.
I'm telling you, who needs to go and ride on an amusement park ride when you got you got adrenaline rushes like we experience sometimes.
Yeah.
And that's what's funny. You love it or you hate it, don't you? I mean, once you go and you have an experience, you're either hooked or you're terrified and you don't want to go back.
Oh,
well, it's a much better adrenaline rush than any roller coaster or anything else. Good. And I think we're all kind of adrenaline junkies.
Yeah.
So
we like that excitement.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't wait. I think we need to plan a all girls trip.
Well, my God, we would never hear anything because we'd all be talking and laughing so much.
That may be a good thing.
We have to kind of talk and listen one to one ear because we got asked one time, did we ever shut up? When we were camping.
If we're quiet, it's because we hadn't slept for 3 nights straight.
Yeah. Well,
like this.
We tried shutting up one time and the activity stopped. So we just
Well, that place that we just showed and talked about up in Northwest Arkansas where the dogs got pulled apart, that's what happened. Anytime we'd get quiet, we'd get tired, they'd be quiet. And so we figured that out, and that's when we start laughing and talking, and they'd start right back up with their moaning and mooing.
They like the cover of our noise we're making, and they also have used storms to sneak up on us. The thunder and the lightning and the rain. Covering up movement and get the night in Louisiana where Sandy saw one behind the tent. I mean, we just had this horrible storm. And they snuck right up on us.
Yeah.
Spencer,
I really do. I think they use the thunder and lightning as camouflage to be able to walk more ginger. Now, they don't have to walk as gingerly, you know?
Yeah.
I know they always do a girls trip, Spencer. I mean, come on, they're an all girls group. I'm saying our group, our
Yeah.
girls and their
There's
girls.
inviting us.
Yeah. We were going to join some ladies here in Texas. Debbie and I were.
Last week.
Yeah, last week. But the storms have been so bad here. They put the trip off, which it may even be flooded. I was going to ride over there, and I got busy doing other things and hadn't checked it out.
Rodney Beasley knows that we don't scream and run.
No.
He might be the one screaming and running, but not us.
No,
We
I can't
haven't so
say.
far.
We have stood our ground, and we're also smart about making sure we always have a vehicle pointed outward, so we don't even have to bother about backing up if we have to depart from somewhere really quickly. And our vehicles is not no half a mile up the road from us. They're right there at us.
And we're all armed, and we have plenty of
Yep.
bullets.
And we've actually used our vehicles on an occasion or two as hitting our panic buttons to get stuff to stop a couple of times.
Yeah.
And it works. I mean, Barbara hit hers, I'd hit mine. Debbie had her vehicle there, we'd hit it. I mean, we can make some noise, get something's attention, that's for sure.
We
We've
did
done
that
it.
one time in North Georgia because we were here in Growling, coming
Yeah.
across
Yeah.
on the other side of the mountain, and we didn't know if it was a bear because they were bear hunting.
Yeah.
So we started hitting those panic buttons, all those
Yep.
lights flashing and the horns blowing. It scares them.
Have
Oh,
y'all,
yeah.
I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
Have y'all ever had any other type of encounters besides, the Bigfoot? And I mean, I'm talking dogman, UFOs. Notice anything else?
We've had crazy men encounters,
Yeah, we have.
and I'm not talking about
Human.
any that we know, but we've had them come up in our camp 2 different times in North Georgia. One of them was carrying a sword.
Crazy damn Georgia people. And I'm a
Oh,
Georgian.
man.
Yeah.
Our
we had
biggest fear is from humans.
Yeah.
But you never
I've
seen
seen that, Spencer. Debbie calls it the mother squatchy.
Yeah.
But you've never seen strange lights or anything like that? Or
Yeah, we have
Yeah.
seen that.
Yeah, we
Yeah, we've
have.
seen strange lights
Yeah.
and orb-looking things.
Mhm.
Actually, this last time we were in North Georgia, we Tom Crabtree built a thermal night vision type thing for us, and it's on a tripod, and we can use a remote control and be watching it on an iPad.
Yeah.
And so we had that out there, and I was turning it on, and the iPad was over to my right, and Barbara and Sandy could both see the iPad. And excuse me, I take that back.
It was Stephanie.
Yeah, I could see the iPad, and Barbara and Stephanie were over to the right. And I'm watching it on the iPad because I'm trying to make sure, I just turned it on, and I'm trying to make sure that where I wanted it angled and pointed towards was correct, what I was seeing on the iPad. And and so while I'm looking at the iPad, I see this orb, and it was the, white hot is what I had it set on. And it was the hottest thing on the screen. Now, up there in North Georgia, we have what we call an island, and it's like a big, tall hill. It comes up taller than our vehicles, and then there's trees all along the top of it. And on the other side of that is the dirt road that you come in on, and then there's a straight up hill on the other side of that. And so what I was seeing this orb at was on the other side of that island. And so it was up pretty dang high. And I'm watching this it was a big orb, and I'm watching it move just perfectly slow, but then it starts kind of bouncing. Like when you walk, how you got a little bit of a bounce to it. And so I'm looking at the thermal, or, the iPad thermal vision thing on the iPad, watching it, and it's going straight across, and it's not going like real slow, like I would have thought, because I'd never seen anything like this before through a night vision thermal thing. And then it gets about halfway down and goes straight up in the air, like just supersonic speed straight up. And I'm shocked. And I look over at Barbara and Sandy, and I see that they were looking in that direction. I mean, Barbara and Stephanie. And
We were looking on the iPad.
Oh, y'all
But
were
you-
looking at the.
yeah.
Oh, I was. Yeah, I was looking at it through the woods. They were looking at the iPad, and anyway, I looked at them, and I'm telling them what I just seen, and they said that they had only seen the part go straight up, and so that was weird. That was weird.
Yeah.
Yins investigate in cemeteries or just your camping areas or
No, we've never went and
Have
sat
you
in
ever been
one.
to cemeteries? I know you said
Sometimes
it-
they'll be nearby,
have.
but we don't go into them.
Yeah.
I've gone in one time with another friend of mine that lives in the same town that I live in. We've gone to two actually, I think, up there around outside Longview, but never really had anything happen. We heard some calls far off.
There's
Poor
a
old
lot of
Spencer can't get
conversation
no
on here.
respect around here.
They said, which area state have y'all had the most activity in?
Oh wow! I would say it'd be between Georgia and Oklahoma.
Those
Yeah.
are the places we've been to the most often.
Mhm.
But
Yeah.
we've kind of been lucky enough that everywhere we've went, we've had something happen to talk about. So
You
it's
know,
everywhere.
I think it's because you are women. Me and Debbie had talked about this before. And, you know, I think a lot of times women do get more activity because they're not as threatening as men. They don't see women and children as a big a threat as they do a man. And I think they're curious about us.
Yeah, I
Oh,
agree.
yeah.
That's right.
Absolutely 100% believe that women have better
And-
luck.
Yeah, and I mean, you know, like we were saying, we're less intimidating. They see mainly men hunting with guns in the woods, and I mean, I know women hunt too, but when you're all covered in camo with a cap on, it's hard to tell if you're a man or a woman.
They just don't know us very well, do they? That we're probably worse than most of the men.
Well, they hear me cussing a lot, but they know we're their gentler sex, and we're just sitting around out there laughing and cutting the fool and eating,
Yeah.
sitting around the
Play-
campfire.
playing loud music. We
Yeah,
play
we
music
play
and we
music.
dance and laugh and
I think we put off different vibes and pheromones, you know.
Yeah,
oh, definitely.
yeah.
But I had a question. I told Spencer we are mostly a female group too, but we've got two male members, but usually only one of them's with us. But we also have young girls, and everybody in our family. I'm kind of the matriarch of our family, like mother hen, you know. And when we're out, it worries me about the girls being with us. Do y'all ever have those concerns? You know, I mean,
Because of hormones you're talking about.
Yeah, just, you know, because, you know, the history of them taking females and kids and stuff. And does it ever concern you, you know, that part of it?
As long I waited so late to get into the field, I'm past that age, been past that age for a long time. So it's never concerned me about being a woman out in the woods, putting off the scent that might get them aroused.
Well, Missy's daughter, she's 16, and she goes with us most of the time. And she's just like her mama. She has no sense. She'll just walk off right out into the, you know.
Yeah.
Truth is the truth. She will. You know, I have to get after her. You know, don't walk off in the dark.
Well, you know, you have to what females have
You're on here with me for.
females have to be careful around stud horses. So
Yeah.
I would imagine they'd have to be careful around a Sasquatch too.
Yeah. But I've just wondered if y'all, I know it's mostly you all, but I don't know if you ever had any, like, you know, worries about that or with.
Well, I don't recollect us having any really young females camping with us. Most of us are middle-aged or better. So I don't really have an answer for that one.
I don't need her.
I always say they're just going to eat me, so I'm not worried about
Yeah.
I'll be the slowest one. I'm the first one to go, y'all.
Well, my boyfriend said a couple of times if Sasquatch kidnapped me, he'd probably bring me back.
Yeah.
What a pain in the butt I can be sometimes.
Yeah.
That's probably why we don't get took.
That's probably why. They probably can tell by the personalities. Hey, they ain't even worth it. They ain't worth it.
Yeah.
Sitting and listening around the camp, and they're like, "Doing that, don't take none of these damn things."
Yeah, them women are bat crap crazy.
I think that could also be why they make as much noise as they do when they're around us all, because we're constantly talking and laughing. They just don't know that we can multitask and actually listen at the same time.
Yeah.
That's right.
That's like when we got surrounded. Sherry goes, "You got your gun?" What? Here, I just go grabbing it out of my bra. Got your bra? I didn't have pants on that had pockets.
Oh my God. We try to spell gun out because they're pretty dang smart, and I think they could possibly know what a gun is.
That's a good idea.
Yeah.
We know they know what a gun does. I have no doubt. They see hunters and they see them, pick up their gun and aim and point and shoot and kill an animal.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure they know what a gun does. So we try to keep them hidden, but we do have guns with us.
Yeah.
But it's not because we don't think it's going to do one bit of good with the Sasquatch.
Yeah.
It's not going to. I'm sorry, Spencer, but it's not going to stop a Bigfoot. It's just going to piss them off a little bit.
Yeah.
But we keep our guns because of humans.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And there are a lot of crazy humans out there, and we've had a couple of crazy humans in our camp before.
Yep.
And so not any of y'all guys, Spencer. But we've had strange people walk up into our camp in the middle of the night.
Yeah.
That's bad, ain't it? That we're not worried about, something 10, 12 foot tall, big hairy ape or whatever coming at us, or a bear. It's crazy.
We're more concerned with our human race.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is sad.
Yeah.
Well, if they ever decided to actually attack us, we know we're done. We know it. But Barbara is the best one about, to me, instigating it. We always go in there and pray. It's when we get to camp together. And we always say we're here in peace. And I think they sense that about us, that we're not going to do them any harm if we did see them. And I mean, we've had opportunities to act a little crazy back at them, but we don't. Barbara will scold them,
She hollers at them.
Now, I mean,
she hollered one. I'm sorry, Sam. She hollered one time. Barbara hollered one time. We were having tons of stuff happen outside, and she was tired, and she just hollered, "Get the hell out of here!" She scared the crap out of me when she hollered.
No. I think
we
all
looked
right.
at each other.
Yeah.
We was like, "Are they fixing to kill us now?"
Yes, they thought I'd sign their death certificate right then when I yelled.
Barbara ain't playing around. She needs some sleep.
Hey, I mean business.
We were tired.
Spencer's instigating in the chat if y'all are noticing it.
Oh,
I don't see that.
Spencer.
Yes, he is very so doing it.
Yeah, I rough talk them. Boom. Hey, when they get a little close with those rocks, I'll yell at them. Hey,
Yeah.
Don't
That's
you
what
put
it
no
was.
get in my car.
Well, she had one that was real close to her head one time.
yeah.
They're thinking she's the one that said, "Get the hell out of here."
Yeah,
Let's get her.
That's that mean lady.
What's your next plan for your group?
We
Next
haven't made
outing?
any.
I mean, you don't have to give us any details, but y'all got plans for a next outing and
Well, more than likely, we'll be planning another Georgia trip this year. I mean, that's kind of a yearly trek for us, but
And they're doing
mostly,
it because of my job. I only get a week off a year.
I
So
know it.
I got a brand new job. I needed it. I needed the health insurance, had to take it. And I do like my job, but my paid time off is not good right now. And maybe me and my boss will talk about it come 1 year anniversary. I don't think he's into Bigfoot and watching this, I hope.
But,
But it's really hard to do anything with just 5 days off for the entire year.
Yeah.
And I was used to being able to pretty much go 3 and 4 times a year, fly to Dallas, and Barbara picked me up, and we go from there wherever, fly to Washington for a whole week. I can't Can't do that right now. So Barbara, you're going to see Barbara and Debbie be able to get together a lot more often than I'm going to be able to join the group at this time. Now, is that going to go on forever? Probably not. I'll be able to do a lot more, but yeah, it'd probably be for me another 4-day weekend. That's what I had to do this past year. Actually, it was do a 4-day weekend, so I could just use 2 of my whole 5 days off.
And me and Debbie will be getting together, but our problem is we've got so many good spots we can't decide where we want to go.
That's not a bad problem to have.
Yeah, it's a good
Not at all.
problem to have, but
Yeah.
we go, well, which one do we want to do the most?
And
How
Barbara
close-
now, she only lives 45 minutes from me.
Yeah.
This is the closest she's ever been. So,
Mhm.
and
That's
she's
what I
out
was
at
getting ready
Caddo
to say.
Lake. Yeah, she's at Caddo Lake, which is she's in a sugar sweet spot.
Yeah.
They can sit there on their patio or deck or whatever steps and listen across the river because she's right on the river.
Yeah, I hear them howling over there.
Do you hear them sometimes, Barbara?
Yeah. And I've
Wow.
actually started a little stick game out here and seeing where I'm going with that. I might be having a little activity.
Might be.
We'll see.
Yeah. Heck yeah. Let's see.
But that's it. We got Bigfoot on the brain.
Oh yeah. I'll
And
tell you, it's addictive, isn't it? I mean, really,
it
just
is.
especially
Yeah.
when you hear something, it's like you just can't wait for that next time that you go out because we're like you guys. We get a lot of stuff too when it's
Yeah.
just a few of us going out.
I think the smaller the group, the better.
I think so.
Yeah.
But I think you need to, I mean, it's okay to go as 2, but 3's the perfect number for me, I think, because you've
Yeah.
always got a backup person there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the 3 of us, and when we get all our juju together, we do real good.
I don't
So
know.
we
there's some great
we know
chemistry.
we know how we're going to respond to situations. We know we're not going to panic. We're going to keep our heads about us and not get stupid and do stupid shit.
Well, now I don't know about that. We do stupid shit,
Yeah.
but not when it's Bigfoot related.
Yeah, well, that's a whole different story.
I'll never forget when the first time we went out with Debbie and Larry, when we heard something, he looked over at me or when we got in the truck, he said, "You didn't run." He said, "I'm proud of you." He said, "That means a lot." I said, "Well, I wasn't going to take off and leave her." I said, I'd hate to have to throw her over my shoulder and take off with her.
Hey, that first time you get up off your bed and pull that tent window down a little bit to peek out, that's a huge step.
I remember the first time I did that. That was in
Yeah.
the area we call the killing field. And it was like one of our first outings, really. And I was talking to myself as I'm trying to get off the cot and then turn and not make noises and then peep up out through the zipper doors. I had them flapped down a little bit so I could just in case. And it was 13 degrees outside. It was freezing. And all I'm worried about is my knees popping and making a noise that they're going to hear outside. And then as I'm standing up, I'm like, okay, Debbie, you can do this. You can do this. This was our very first real activity we'd ever had. And I'm, talking to myself as I'm trying to get up there to that flap and peep out through there. And that's when we saw the chimes happening, something making those chimes move, and there was nothing standing there. But yeah, I had to talk to myself because I was like, holy shish kebab.
Yeah. Ooh.
But now we're like, get out of the way. Let's go look.
Yeah. Y'all seeing anything over there?
And Barbara's hollering at them, get the hell out of here and leave us alone. We're tired.
Funny.
Yeah.
We're done with y'all.
Oh, man.
I have another question before everybody. I don't know that I've ever heard you all say this. I know it's one of the first things they always ask us. What do you think they are? I don't know if I've ever heard anybody ask y'all that.
Yeah, we've talked about that before, but I'll go first. In my mind, they're flesh and blood with special abilities. I think they're a living flesh and blood creature, but they've got special abilities about them.
Yeah.
I would
I
agree. I
they-
think the flesh and blood as well. But I can also say this: the more I learn, the more questions I have about them. Because it's amazing how you can see something and then be right there at it. Next thing you know, they're gone. I mean, it's like they disappear in thin air.
Yeah. Hey, I'm not saying anybody else's encounter is anything's wrong with it, but
yeah,
no, everybody has their own encounter, and I'll listen. If you want to tell me, I'll listen.
yeah.
Debbie?
And I don't know. When I first started, I was flesh and blood all the way. And then the more stuff that we've had happen and experience and seen with our own eyes, I just don't know anymore. Because like those chimes, I was standing there looking out of the tent straight at those chimes and seeing something. It's not like they were hitting them, because if you had hit them, those chimes would be kind of willy-nilly all over the place. But these chimes were still, like if they were perfectly still hanging down, they were going out parallel with the ground, but still in that same exact formation, almost like something was holding them in place. Yet you could hear the noise, that a chime makes when it's moving around a bunch. But that ball, it was right in the middle of the chimes. And so I saw that happen several times, at that night, and I can't explain that. And so seeing that made me start saying, okay, there's something more to them. Like Barbara said, something more. But I don't know. I don't know what that is. And then like seeing their shadows and stuff, but yet there's nothing out there. I don't know. I don't know what it is. Can't explain it.
Do you get really weird feelings or anything like that before they start coming around, or like they're there before you actually know they're there?
It depends. I mean, sometimes I've had some kind of like, I don't know if you'd call it intuition or whatever, but you get a good feeling about a place.
Yeah.
And we've always been really lucky in the places that we've decided, okay, this looks like a good spot, We kind of go off our feelings.
See, that's something else I've heard, that a lot of women say that, they get more than men. So either men won't admit it or they just don't get the feelings one. But a lot of women say that.
Well, and we've had a lot of people, not a lot, but we've had people say, they have stuff happen everywhere they go. Well, first of all, we don't. We wish we did, but we don't. We've had boring camping, well, not boring camping trips, because it's always fun when we're together, but we've had camping trips where there's nothing happen. But we have been very, very, very extremely lucky to have things happen as many times as we have. And I don't know. I think the three of us together maybe put off a certain kinetic energy. I don't know. And we have been very lucky to that aspect, because we have been blessed with having this activity. I mean, I call it a blessing. Some people are like, oh, heck no, I don't want that to happen.
Yeah.
But we get excited and we love it. That's what it's our adrenaline rush. It's our roller coaster.
I really believe that the three of us are together because we were supposed to be doing this. And that's really what I think. And it comes back to whenever Spencer. Anyways, it goes back to all the way back to my childhood. Barbara and Debbie, we all kind of have been having off and on throughout our lifetime the same dream, or incredibly similar dream.
Incredibly similar.
Incredibly similar. The landscaping, the house, everything was spot on pretty much. Very few differences.
You got to tell us part of that now. You can't leave us hanging. The dream.
Well, when I was a little girl, and I haven't had the dream now for a few years, I used to dream that I was at this white house, like an old wooden house. And this house was up on cinder blocks, and it had a porch. But there was something circling the house, and I was up underneath this house. And, the older houses that they built up, it was before the concrete slab homes. I would be up underneath this house, laying on my belly on dirt, watching creatures walk around the house. All I could see would be its legs. Barbara and Debbie, when we got to accidentally talking about it one day, we realized we've all been having dreams very, very similar throughout our lives. So that's crazy. That's crazy.
The only difference between my dream and theirs, they both had a white house, I think. It wasn't yours white, Barbara, that you were dreaming?
Yes.
Mine was a light gray house, which was my house that I grew up in. And it was raised up.
On cinder blocks. All of them were on
yeah.
cinder blocks.
And then I had another dream where I was inside that house going from window to window watching these creatures, but they weren't Bigfoot. They were like werewolves.
Yeah.
And that's the part of the dream we don't like because we don't want to mess with Dogman.
Yeah. And I mean, I remember feeling pure terror. It was
terrible
terror.
Horrible.
Yeah. And in some of my dreams, they were upright, and in some they were on all fours. And I had it inside the house, and I would have it because it was a reoccurring dream, you know. Yeah. Sometimes I'd be under the house. Sometimes I'd be in the center under the house. Sometimes I'd be under the porch. And we were talking about that. I think, wasn't it this last time we were in Georgia?
I think it was the time before.
Yeah.
Okay. We were talking about that while we were sitting around the fire. And I forget which one of us started talking about this dream. And it's probably me because I started,
Debbie, because when you started talking about it, I went, no, we were actually going down the road, I think, and Barbara was driving. You and I were in the back seat talking, if I remember right. What do y'all think, Barbara?
I don't remember.
No, y'all both crazy.
I thought it was around the
yeah, we are.
I thought it was
We
around
was
the
sitting in camp, and Debbie was telling us about some pictures that some friends of ours took.
Oh, yeah.
And then it went from there. We got talking about dreaming about werewolves as a kid and being underneath the house. And when one of us mentioned being underneath the house, that sparked the attention of all three of us. Mm-hmm. And we got to comparing notes.
Yeah.
Gosh, we were finishing each other's sentences. I mean, it was that similar.
It was scary similar. The only difference was the color of the house.
Yeah.
But they were all wolves.
Missy and I had that same thing sometimes. It's weird. The mental link, you know, and it's weird.
But we wonder if that's why we do have such, you know, good amount of activity that we do, is because, of course, they're sisters, you know, but we're somehow connected.
We are.
You know?
Yeah. I believe it. I think that people's got different energies and you're kind of drawn to certain people.
Yeah.
You know?
I know it. I wish we'd all met Debbie a lot sooner and got into this a lot sooner.
Yeah, I do too.
Yeah.
I do. But we have so much fun. I mean,
we have a good time on our trips.
Well, I bet.
We enjoy being with each other. You know, that's hard to find 3 women that can just get along like we do.
So Barbara and Sandy are sisters? I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't
Yeah,
know
I've known her since birth.
Yeah.
I did not know that.
Yeah, she's my baby sister.
And then Stephanie that we talk about that goes with us a lot when we're in North Georgia, that's their niece.
Yeah.
I'd heard you say that. I just didn't realize. Had never heard that they were sisters.
Yeah.
And she's so funny, y'all, because the
Oh
first time Barbara, wasn't it the first time when y'all were in Jefferson? Was that her first time to go Bigfooting?
No, she went with us up to the Blue Hole that time.
Oh, that's right. I always forget about the Blue Hole. Yeah. But
Greg, I've done got one of him.
Oh my goodness.
And another one in the works. I'm just kidding.
But no, we've had some really good trips, and you know, we were fortunate to get to go up to the Olympic forest.
The Olympic Peninsula, yeah.
Yeah, and that was awesome. We visited with Shane Corson at their headquarters and stayed there a couple of nights, and then we went back up into the the forest and camped up there for 3 or 4 days and had some interesting stuff up there in the forest. That's where we got bluff charged.
Yeah.
And we saw a naked man.
A naked man.
That's
hiking.
right.
He was hiking naked. All he had on was his hiking shoes, a fanny pack, and a cap.
Yeah.
And he had a walking stick.
No, I'm serious as a heart attack on that one.
Did you like what you said?
I mean, I'm telling you the truth about everything, but he was absolutely.
That was our most surprising thing, I think.
That was our sighting.
Yeah. And y'all, we're hiking down this trail, and down at the end, another trail intersects. And so he's going across this trail like this, and we're straight on looking, and he's naked with just that little bit on, got his walking stick. And when he looks back over his shoulder, and I swear it was just like Patty, you know.
Yeah.
He looks back. We like to have died.
Yeah.
You offering some sunblock?
We tried to chase him down. But he had a promise.
I asked if you liked what you saw.
No, he was short and squatty.
Yeah.
So you seen Spencer out there naked?
No, I hadn't seen. Spencer's not as squatty as this guy was. But I had my walking stick with a little GoPro type camera on top of it, and I had just turned it off. And I'm like, that's how it's going to be with Bigfoot. I'm going to have the camera turned off. But that was funny.
That was funny. Debbie was doing interviews after the sighting when me and Barbara. What exactly did you see?
Yeah.
That's the kind of crazy fun we'll have out there.
But it is some kind of beautiful out there. And where we were camping, I mean, the trees are so tall and they were so thick that it was a full moon and we couldn't see it. We couldn't see it.
Because the trees blocked it out.
Yeah.
And we couldn't have a campfire. There was a burn ban. And so the night that we got bluff charged, all we had was a lantern. You know, we had the little fire inside the lantern going. And we're all sitting around the lantern. And that was that. I think, you know, that question had come up earlier. When has there ever been like an encounter that scared you? Or what was your most nerve-wracking one? I think that one probably scared me because we'd never been bluff charged.
Right.
And there was these huge trees, like Barbara said, back behind where I was sitting, because I could see both Sandy and Barbara at an angle. So they were facing those trees. And I'm sitting there with my back to them. And those trees went all the way down the length of this area that we were camping in. And then they went up, you know, made a hard left. And then they made another hard left and came up right to the edge of our tent. And Sandy had already had a sighting back behind our tent in the thermal. She had just not turned the record button on at the time. And so we're sitting there and we start hearing this crashing sound. And I mean, it was so freaking loud. And you know how your mind will start asking itself questions like, what is that? What am I hearing? And it's going 90-0 as this is taking place. And I'm thinking, is that elk with their big old, you know, horns, antlers, whatever, crashing through the trees behind us? Because it sounded like it was a herd of elk coming through those trees. And I got up out of my chair and I went to the other side of the fire where they were, and I'm turned facing it, and you could hear it just going all the way down and then make a hard left. And you could hear those trees that were down at the end, it going through there, and then we could hear it coming up back behind us, and it stopped right there at that tent. So that was my scariest moment.
Yeah.
Because I was like, what in the heck? And it wasn't until I was telling Larry about it, and he goes, y'all got bluff charged. And I was like, holy crap, yeah, that's what that was.
Did it growl or like make noises at you as it was doing it?
No, it just sounded like a bull coming through the woods. It was,
Yeah.
you know, we really didn't know what it was. When we first started hearing it, we go, is it rain? Is that rain falling on the leaves? Because it was just kind of crunchy. And then we all decided, no, that's not rain.
Greg, I don't think we could feel anything because we were so caught up in that moment trying to figure out what the heck that was. Because
Yeah.
honestly, being bluff charged, that was the furthest thing from our mind. We'd never encountered that before. We were trying to figure out what that crashing through those trees were, because it wasn't like it was coming towards us at first, but the louder it got, that's why I got up and I turned to see. But that's when we realized it was going down, like away from us, but then it circled back and came up back behind us. So then we got, nervous, really nervous then. But
Debbie, what about your Squatchers Only site?
well, yeah, that's in the works. I have somebody that's making the site for me. We're talking about what all I want on it and everything. And so that should be happening pretty soon. We interact and talk a lot on, Messenger and stuff. And so his name is Gary Schutte. And so he's going to be making the website and helping me with it and getting it going. And so I'm excited about that. I think it'll be fun. It's going to have a kind of like a dating app, but it's also going to have the possibility of connecting researchers together. If you need a research partner, or if you're going to be going to a different area, like when we went to the Pacific Northwest, say somebody's wanting to go out west and they're trying to find other Bigfooters in the area that they think they might can get along with, and then they have that ability. So there'll be a researcher's portion and then also the dating portion of it. Because I know y'all all know this, but people watching may not know. I met the love of my life because of Bigfoot. That's how Larry and I met, and we fell in love, and I feel very blessed. And we get along. We love to go Bigfooting together. And so I think everybody needs somebody that understands what they're doing and doesn't think they're crazy for doing it. And so it was just, the perfect idea, I think.
I think it's genius. I told you that when I first seen it. I said, I wish I'd have damn thought of it. It is genius.
So, yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I think it's going to be a lot of fun.
How long do you think it's going to take, Debbie?
It shouldn't really take that long once Gary can actually really start working on it. He's got a lot of, irons in the fire. And so I think once he is able to, spend some time and focus on that, it should be up and running relatively quickly.
Well, I'm excited for you.
I am too. Yeah. So y'all will be seeing it, advertised on Facebook and stuff. But yeah, squatchersonly.com.
I love it. I'll tell you, I can't wait to see it because it's such a good idea because you've got people that want to go out but don't have anybody. Whether it's the dating aspect or whatever, just having somebody that you can connect with that's close. Because you don't get out and tell everybody, hey, I hunt for Bigfoot. I tell whoever, but not everybody's an open book like I am.
Yeah, and it's always a good idea to have a partner with you.
Yeah, definitely so.
Yeah.
And not just a partner, but somebody that thinks the same way you do. Believes that they're whether it be flesh and blood or more on the woo side or whatever. You've got so many different possibilities of what these creatures are and how you interpret them and everything. So you do want to have a like-minded person that you're researching with.
Right.
And we've gotten lucky, and we're just totally blessed, in all honesty. And so hopefully this will be a blessing for others too.
Yeah, well, I tell you, I know we've camped with you and several of the, crew from the Beast team, and you couldn't ask for better people to be out camping with. I've never camped with Barbara or Sandy, but I'm telling you, these people are the best people you will ever meet to get out and do something with. They just took us in like they had known us all our lives. And they just, I don't even know how to explain it. You guys have been so good to us. It's so much fun to go out with you. And you see people bickering and fighting, and can't get along over nothing. So what? You don't believe the same thing as somebody else. You don't have to talk about that if you can't get along about that. But if people just sit down, you have common interests with people that you probably have no idea, but you don't like that person because they don't believe the same way you do. And you guys hadn't been that way. You know, yins don't care that I'm crazy.
That's why we
We're
love
all
you.
crazy. Everyone
Yeah.
is crazy.
Yeah, you got to have a little bit of crazy in you to have
Yeah,
some
you
fun
do.
anyway, you know.
Yeah.
I
But
know
no,
we've had
y'all are
Barbara.
family.
I know Barbara is my family, and Debbie's my family too. I mean, she's
Yeah.
my sister.
Yeah, we fight well, maybe not a bear, but
The Care
I
Bear.
said I'd fight a Care
a
Bear.
Care Bear. We fight a Care Bear for each other.
Yeah.
I whoop its butt.
But no, I feel the same about y'all, and I know that when Barbara and Sandy even get to meet y'all in person, I know they can't help but like you now, but we just hit it off instantly when I met y'all, and y'all are family as far as I'm concerned.
It's the same way with us, Debbie. I'll tell you, we have a ball every time we get together, and like you said, it's just like a family reunion.
It is. It is. So yeah, we do need to plan something.
Even Rodney and Karen, I tell you that I can't say I like Rodney because I don't want him to know it, but I do like Karen.
Yeah, they're good people too. We've been really blessed all the way around.
We'd love to get to meet Barbara and Sandy too.
Yeah.
One day we'll all get to meet. One day we sure will.
Oh, Spencer?
Yep.
Oh,
Come here and talk.
happy birthday.
Oh no, look what he said.
50
Yeah.
Take it away, Spencer.
Yeah, he's really flashing it up there.
Yeah. I told you I'm 29 for 12 years now.
Ooh-wee.
Man, that's so young sounding to me.
Yeah.
Yeah. Shoot.
Yeah, you're still the youngest.
Where would Jens go if you could pick one place that you ain't never been that you'd want to go? Where would you want to go?
I'd like to go to Hawaii, but I don't
Willow
think
Creek.
Not for squatching. You know, you don't hear people say about having them in Hawaii.
No.
Yeah, no, I've never heard of any reports there actually.
Finding Bigfoot when they were over there, they said that they had the small ones, not the like I don't forget what they're called, but they're like real tiny.
Like the orangutan tang.
The mini hoonies.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I've always wanted to kind of go to Colorado within the Rockies, check that out, or either to Montana. That's a lot of, not a lot of people there. It's not populated much. And maybe that's why there's not so many reports there, but I think they're everywhere in the U.S. So those two places I've thought of, it's just crossed my mind. Haven't made any plans really to go to either one of those places, but it's always been curious about them.
I want to camp out in Kane Michael's backyard.
You do that. You too. Kane, do you hear that? Girl trip to your house.
Yeah, I want to camp out at Kane's house, but I would like to go to Ohio. And then I've been pushing myself on Chris Reinhardt and Doug Hychek. They're supposed to be going to Alaska or somewhere soon. And
Oh my God.
I'm like, I can be bait. You know, they're going to be in this little cabin. I'm like, I'll put a tent out front and set in it. Y'all just let me go. You won't hear peep from me.
Yeah.
I hear you.
That'd be a long drive.
Yeah,
We'll sneak
that would take a while, but it'd be pretty.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'd like to also go to Canada. I think that'd be a good part. Where would y'all go? Misty
I've got a girlfriend that lives in New Mexico. I'd actually like to take a trip and go visit and stay close to where she's at.
Yeah.
See her and go check out some of the the like Area 51, the Witch's Grave, and some different places that are up there. She said they've got all kinds of stuff that goes on up there in New Mexico. So
Yeah,
Yeah.
Brenda Harris lives in New Mexico.
yeah,
Yeah.
that would be my place I'd like to go.
That's where
Yeah.
I'd like to go to the reservation where Brenda's at.
Yeah.
I guess that's first on my list.
A non-believer a-hole. Well, luckily, I might have run into somebody that didn't believe me, but I hadn't really run into a non-believer, I don't think, in my Bigfoot world. I probably didn't talk to them if I didn't think they believed.
I think
But-
Missy JR does not believe, does he? My husband does not believe. He still goes with us, but he doesn't believe.
Oh, really?
I told him I hope he gets the shit scared of him one day.
Yeah.
That's what I told him.
Well, my husband's had experiences. So, he's not going to say, hey, it's Bigfoot. He'll say, there's something out there.
He goes with us, and he doesn't make fun of us or anything, but he's a non-believer.
He's coming around a little bit more though, because he's been with us a few times whenever we've had some stuff happen. We got surrounded one night while he was with us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that I believe pretty well.
What was he thinking or saying while this was happening? What did he voice
Nothing.
any opinions?
He is. You've met Jim. He is just the most laid back person ever. He's just got that little, just that gait when he walks, and he just nothing. Didn't say a word. He just kind of looked around at everybody and was just like,
That was it.
I think the non-believers that I've met that I know, like it's different when you're dealing with a non-believer on Facebook or whatever, but the people that know me, they know me and they know that I don't lie. And so even though they'll straight up say, I've never believed in them, I don't believe, I'll still talk to them, and tell them, and they'll say, well, that's really interesting, but there's got to be another reason this stuff is happening. They just can't fathom, that there's this big hairy creature, bipedal like a human, doing all this stuff. They're always thinking there's got to be something else that's doing this. But some of them have actually kind of looked into the subject since they've talked to me, because they do know me, well enough. I've got family that I grew up with, cousins that, we pick at each other, kind of like what we're doing here. And I don't see them on a regular basis, but they know what I do because we're all on Facebook, and they'll say, oh, you just crazy. But they say it in a loving way, but I've never really had to have it out or anything with a non-believer a-hole. I'll just say, well, if you don't believe, that's fine. I don't really care.
Well,
Much.
I'd keep mine very private. People that's on my Facebook see that I don't post a lot. I keep everything very private around here. I just keep it amongst me and my friends. And I guess one of the hardest things I ever had to do is I've dated a guy for a while. I'm still dating him. And he had not a clue, because I did keep it that private. And me telling him, I was petrified. I'm like, this guy's going to think I'm insane and he's fixing to break up with my butt. And I told him, and he kind of looked at me a little crazy for a second. And he says, you know what? He said, who am I to say anything? He says, you can't see God, but we believe in him.
Exactly.
And I was like, wow, that's a great answer.
Yeah.
He didn't run to the door and take off, and haul ass. It was whole butt. He didn't haul butt, and we're still dating, and it's been months ago since I told him. But yeah, I'm very private with it. I began being private because I was a business owner for many years, and the way people can be down here in the South, I don't know how it is in the rest of the country, but if they think you're crazy, word gets out and people wouldn't come shop in your store because, oh my God, that's crazy. Won't believe in Bigfoot.
Yeah.
You really going to go shop there? So I just learned to keep my things very private. But the people that know me, they know. And nobody that I'm aware of has told Sandy to kick rocks because she believes in Bigfoot, if they care about you and they trust who you are as a human being, they know you're not no liar, they're going to stay around. And if they don't, they weren't anybody that meant anything to me anyway.
That's right. Well said. Well said. Yeah.
Bravo.
So, ladies, you got anything specific you want to talk about?
I've enjoyed this.
Yeah.
Oh, God, definitely.
It's been
We
fun.
do need to plan an outing together, all of us.
Yeah.
Yes. We'll try to get somewhere in between where it's kind of close for everybody.
Yeah. Yeah,
Sounds
Sandy
good.
can drive up,
Yeah. That would be great.
and her Mazda Squatchy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll probably be in a Honda SUV. I'll be,
How far away are you from them, Sandy?
Long
from
ways.
Debbie and Barbara. Oh,
Yeah.
Lord, 20 hours.
Oh, gosh.
So that's why they've been coming to Georgia more often, especially with my job, because I'm only about 6 hours away from North Georgia area we like to go to, and that's drivable for me. So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The first time she got that Maserati and she had to come up the mountain.
Oh, I told Barbara and Debbie off the whole trip.
She
Yeah.
was cussing us.
Come on, you can make it.
It's not bad at all, Barbara said.
And you know what? She made it.
Yes, you did. I didn't
No,
like her.
no damage to that Mazda Squatchy.
No.
You'll have to have you a sticker made that says that.
I think it should go all the way across the back of the.
Mazer's
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then put a big foot on each side.
Yeah. Debbie couldn't resist. She had to put a picture of that on Facebook. Look what she drove to camping.
Yeah.
That was funny. But no, I'm gonna not take it anymore. I can't. If that car breaks, I won't be able to afford to pay to get it fixed. So I got to take care of it. No, can't do it. I'm probably honestly going to trade it and get me another truck or something this year. That's more practical for me.
Barbara just got her
I did.
a awesome
Yeah.
vehicle.
Yeah, I've seen it. That is really nice.
Yeah.
I'm loving on it.
Big
Yeah,
Daddy
it's
bought it for you.
really
didn't he?
pretty.
Yeah, Big Daddy.
Big
Come
Daddy.
through.
Big Daddy done Big Daddy again.
Yeah. That's why he's got that nickname, huh?
That's it. That is it.
But no, we have a lot of fun, and we've been blessed to find each other and the people we interact with and have gotten to know along the way. This has been nothing but a whole lot of goodness in our lives.
Yeah, it's been great for me.
Yeah.
Me too.
'Cause I love getting out in the woods. I just love it.
Yeah.
Misty
I mean,
is
it's
a hermit. Seriously. I told Spencer, I said, you don't have no idea how good this has been for her. She didn't want to go anywhere.
I hate people. I don't hate people. I'm sorry. I'm not a people person. Let me put it that way. I don't like going nowhere. I don't like being around anybody but my kind of people. And it's the same way when I go hunting. I'm myself around them, and I like being around them. But if I don't like you, I can't help it. It ain't that I don't try. It's just you got to be my kind of person, or I just can't get along with a lot of people.
and you just feel at home.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, ladies, I guess we need to wrap this up unless anybody's got any questions they want to ask or whatever. Because
I know I saw a lot, and we didn't get to answer them because we were in the middle of.
I know, and
I feel bad for not answering them. It's not that we were ignoring them; we were just right in the middle.
Let me see if I can get back to a couple of them, because
I think we got a lot of them afterward.
I can't even get my mouse to move. And we'll talk as long as you want to talk about anything you want to talk about. I just don't want to you on here
Well, we just want to thank you ones for having us.
Oh gosh. I love it. Well, we want to thank y'all for coming on.
Now you're talking our language.
I don't know if we'll if we get to go out together, if we'll see anything, but we'll have a good time. We'll be
Oh,
Yeah.
Hey, it's a camaraderie when you get a big group together.
We'll
Yeah.
be so busy talking we won't hear anything.
Yeah.
And laughing.
One of the questions I see, Rodney Beasley said, anybody else watching Mr. Bean?
No.
No?
I ain't seen that. You can check that out on Facebook.
Leave it to Rodney.
Just go to my page. It's on there.
Well,
Spencer.
You're out of here. That's funny.
that was Rodney. Squirrel.
How did the ladies get into researching? Which
We
area?
kind of touched on that. Yeah.
Yeah, I know. I'm scrolling. I'm trying to look because that way maybe if we may not have missed one.
I think we got about all of them.
It's looking like it.
Well, I just like to say that I promote women getting in the woods. I think it's a good thing.
I tell you what, you can really find a certain peace of mind.
Yeah.
It's just so peaceful, and while you're sitting there waiting for a Bigfoot, you have the ability to sit and think about a lot of things that you don't have otherwise.
Yeah, and we talk to each other about all our troubles and problems, and
Not that we have any, or
yeah, most of the time we just have perfect lives.
Perfect life.
Yeah, that's what people like to think about everybody, don't they?
Oh man, I wish.
No kidding. But yeah, I don't care what it is. You get out in the woods, it seems like everything the whole time you're out there it's just
the
gone.
whole world
better.
disappears.
It's
Yeah, it is. I mean, I would much rather move and live in a cabin in the woods with just my group of people.
Rodney said it's priceless.
Oh yeah.
I think. Spencer, you got anything you want to come on and talk to them about before? No.
And I mean, talking about our friends and family, honestly, because of Bigfoot, not only did I meet the love of my life, but I met my family. I forgot my kids, of course, they're my family, but my best friends, some of my best friends are because of Bigfoot. And I would choose to hang around with these group of people before half of my family, unfortunately. And I know that half of my family ain't going to be watching this because they think I'm crazy, probably. So, nose picking.
I love the name.
Nose picking.
Well, luckily we haven't had to deal with any Casanova Bigfoot.
Yes.
Oh God.
Yes. We've had some thrilling moments, but we've never really felt like our lives were going to be lost.
Yeah, he probably would have been blurry, Greg.
I think we even talked about that. Thank you, Diane.
Thank you.
We did try to chase the naked guy down, and because he had crossed, and we went up there, and I turned to look, and he was gone. And we're like, how did he disappear that fast? Because we weren't that far apart.
He
And we talked
closed.
about that. But then we realized he was in the woods across from us.
Yeah.
And you could see movement, and he was hunkered down. I think he was hiding from us.
He was hiding from us. I'm pretty sure he was hiding from us, Debbie.
Yeah.
I
think
thought he
that's
was
it.
the only one out there walking around, and here you all show up, and it had to just be a pack of women.
I was like, but it was just like a Bigfoot, your camera wasn't on,
Yeah.
and no proof of a naked man in the woods.
Crap happens.
Yep.
Oh man, I'm telling you, yeah, we've got to get together.
Yeah. We've had some
sure
fun.
do.
We've had some fun, some crazy times.
Y'all aren't going to have to back out. I enjoyed it.
Yeah,
And
me too, Barbara.
we'll
My
do it again.
father-in-law's in the hospital, and so
Oh.
I need to see what's
Well-
going on. We need to check on him. And
Yeah, thanks.
Today's
Have us back
the Super Bowl.
anytime. If you just need somebody to fill airtime, we can do it.
well, girls, we're glad to have you back. And thank
Today
you
is
all.
the Super Bowl. I'm in the living room. TV's off, and I know my boyfriend's like, "Oh my god, I can't watch the previews. Get off the podcast." Yeah, I need to get off here so he can come watch his football stuff. It's his last game of the year, and Lord knows he deserves to watch it. He
Yes.
don't
Oh, yeah.
ask a whole lot from me, so
I forgot
Happy
it's
watching,
Super Bowl.
everybody.
Yeah, thank you to everybody who did
Thank you,
watch
Brenda.
and put up with us today and didn't get to watch your football or watched it on the side because it is Super Bowl.
it is Super Bowl.
So we really appreciate everybody. And Spencer, I don't know, like I said, you said, I guess you don't want to say anything to nobody, but before we leave, I do want to say the Beast team, check them out. Facebook, YouTube, Mark and Rebecca Green, Cedar Creek Bottoms Farmstead, Chris Reinhardt, Discover Sasquatch, Kyle Conley with Encrypted Connections, Cam Buckner, Dixie Cryptids, Flat Rock, and of course, SAS. We don't have a YouTube page. We've got just Facebook right now, but y'all check us all out. And don't forget about Debbie. What is it? Give us the name again of your
What?
watching.
Watchers on.
Oh, squatchersonly.com.
Yes, ma'am, there you go. I had a brain fart.
Had a great time, y'all.
All right.
Thank you so much for having
Good
us.
seeing everybody. Love you, Barbara. Love you, Debbie.
All right. Love y'all.
Love
See
you.
Barry, thank
All right.
you.
Bye bye.
Bye, girls. Thank you.